The term hidden gem in the indie game creator space is almost misused as much as the word slaps is online, but that's a different conversation. I've curated 5 truly hidden gem indie games for those combing Steam for their next indie obsession. Now, these all have under 300 Steam reviews, the highest being 250 as of writing this, but have a lot of bang for your buck. I've played all these and I believe you should too. So let's start with Hook, Line, and Sniper. Imagine if Kill the Crows and Ultra Kill had a baby. A fish baby with a sniper rifle, a style meter, and all. That's Hook, Line, and Sniper in a nutshell. It's an arcade-style run-based game that's easy to jump in and out of for quick sessions, perfect for when you want to krill time. But don't let that fool you. There's a surprising amount of depth here with plenty of replayability for score chasers and completionists alike. You start as a fresh fish in the open sea armed with, well, a sniper rifle and grappling hook. Your goal is to rack up enough collective points to unlock the next world. Each world has 2 stages, and every time you advance you unlock a brand new weapon, like a cannon gun or an anchor, that completely changes how you approach combat. Along the way, you'll tackle stage-specific challenges that award stars. These aren't just for bragging rights, they unlock cosmetic skins, letting you customize your fish into anything from a sleek shark to a literal car. Because why wouldn't you want to be a car while swimming the vast seas and diving into the horizon? The game absolutely hooked me with its weapon unlocks. Every new world cranks up the chaos, letting you experiment with creative combos. By the final world, you'll have an arsenal of toys that turn the ocean into your personal playground. Being able to grapple a bird to soar into the sky, quick swap to a cannon gun, explode a mid-air cannonball for a multiplier, then dive bomb a line of enemies on the way down, all while your style meter screams S for sniper, is a combo that's crack for adrenaline junkies, injected into my veins. Now let's talk about the game's challenges. Most are fun skill checks, but some are ridiculous. One forces you to stay out of the water for 95% of the stage. Maybe I'm just a guppy, but I nearly lost my gills trying to beat it. Still, pulling off an S rank in other stages made me feel like a badass fish with style, even if my car fish skin thing looked ridiculous doing it. The gameplay is addictive, but the charm seals the deal. The visuals are simple yet stunning. Vibrant ocean backdrops, exploding pufferfish, flying pirate shrimp. It's absurd, polished, and oozing personality. Even the difficulty curve felt fair and logical. For example, the hazards feel naturally introduced, ramping up the difficulty without ever feeling cheap. Same with the enemy types. They're primarily non-hostile, but some act as additional hazards to avoid along with the stage hazards. As long as you pay attention, you can dodge them fairly consistently, and even if you get hit, you can recover quicker from the stun with a well-timed button press. My only real complaint is that it's pretty short. Once you've 100%ed the challenges, there's really not much left. But the challenges aren't just busy work. Since there's no tutorial, they force you to master your weapons in ways I'd never have tried otherwise. It's a genius way to teach mechanics without handholding. Still, if the devs add more content, I'll be first in line. Bottom line, it's a tight, no-frills package that respects your time. Not every game needs to overstay its welcome, but I wouldn't mind if this one did. Next up is Cavity Busters, a roguelite bullet hell that's equally bizarre and brilliant. Picture this, The Binding of Isaac meets a dental hygiene PSA gone horribly wrong. You play as Gummy the Swift, a squishy creature navigating a world where everything is teeth. Enemies, bosses, even the power-ups. It's grotesque, hilarious, and weirdly charming if you're into that sort of thing. I love weird or unique aesthetics and visual design, so this game immediately drew me in. Like Isaac, you explore procedurally generated floors, fight bosses, and collect upgrades. Unlike Isaac, you're shockingly agile from the jump. You can wall run to dodge bullet hell patterns, jump sky high to stomp enemies, and even shoot your tooth like a boomerang. Your primary weapon is a detachable tooth you can suck back into your gums for extra damage. It's kinda gross, and it's awkward initially, but once it clicks, it's pure magic. The combat has a rhythm to it. There's a combo system that rewards you for playing aggressively without getting hit. Chain kills and dodges, and you unlock buffs like faster movement, extended invincibility frames, or more potent attacks. You also have a secondary weapon called Shot Gums, which also uses a resource called Goop, the same goop you need to heal yourself. Do you blast enemies now, or save it for a desperate heal later? It's a tense balancing act that keeps every run feeling fresh. And then there's the item system. Cavity Busters might not have Isaac's ocean of upgrades, but the synergies here are still grin-inducing. Non-disease items can radically reshape your build. Imagine turning your shotguns into rocket launchers, doubling your bullet count, then adding ricochets that turn the screen into a fireworks show of teeth and explosions. It's not just about stacking power, it's about breaking the game in ways that feel earned or just plain fun. Then there are the diseases. These upgrades give you power for a price. One might boost your speed but give you diarrhea, which in this game literally poisons you, and another adds lasers to doors that hurt you every time you walk through them. You can abandon diseases, but the game gets more challenging if you do, adding modifiers that can increase bosses' HP or make champion level enemies appear more often. It's a brilliant risk-reward loop, like accepting candy from a dentist. The bosses are also no slouch. These grotesque teeth monsters, called the Pearly Knights, have multiple phases and attack patterns that'll test your reflexes. One minute you're dodging a spiral of bullet shards, the next you're leaping over a tidal wave of lasers. Defeat them and you'll unlock cryptic story snippets, usually about the boss's backgrounds from a mysterious NPC in the hub world. There's no grand narrative, but the dialogue's enough to make you ask questions and become intrigued. You start with 2 playable characters and can eventually unlock several more, each with their own characteristics and abilities. The one you start with uses a precise boomerang tooth, while the first one you unlock can use a spread of smaller molder pellets. But the unlockables can get pretty wild. My favorite's a shmup-style spaceship that swaps wall running for bullet-clearing bombs. It's a totally different playstyle and mixes up runs just when you might feel like you need to. Is it perfect? Not quite. The art style is an acquired taste and doesn't have Isaac's endless secrets, but the mechanical depth is undeniable. Every run forces you to adapt, whether juggling diseases, managing goop, or mastering a new character. And if it ever feels too punishing, the accessibility options are a godsend. Want extra health or weaker enemies? If that's your prerogative, go for it. There's no judgment here. Sometimes you just need a cavity filled, not a root canal. Cavity Busters is a roguelite that's worth sinking your teeth into. Just don't blame me if you start flossing more aggressively. Alright, so this next one is a little bit less weird and a little bit more charming. It's called Garbanzo Quest, and it's a precision platformer that feels like Super Mario World meets Cuphead if Mario were a bean with a spit-based arsenal. You play as Garbanzo, a sentient legume on a mission to save his friends from the villainous Billy Bones. Your weapons include spit bullets, hot swappable abilities, and your skills. Your challenge is a gauntlet of handcrafted stages that'll test your reflexes, patience, and the ability to laugh at the absurdity of it all. This is a sort of run-and-gun platformer with bite-sized, brutal levels. You'll dodge projectiles from every angle, creepy floating smiley faces lunging at you, rotating spike traps, and enemies that fire bullets in patterns that might make a bullet hell veteran sweat just a little bit. While some stages are extremely tough and require more than one try, none felt unfair or unwinnable. The actual mechanical depth comes from badges. Upgrades you unlock and equip to tweak your playstyle. One lets you sprint faster, another slows your descent after a jump like Yoshi's flutter kicks, and my favorite is this goofy belly flop that grants brief invincibility frames. It's not pretty, but slamming into the ground to dodge a bullet or flying enemy never gets old. You can also swap between them on the fly, which allows for some creative ways to solve a platforming puzzle. The levels are packed with secrets, like hidden keys to unlock bonus stages and currency to buy cosmetics. Now, I won't spill the beans on all the secrets, they're for you to find. The NPCs you rescue are equally silly, with dialogue that's full of Undertale-esque charm. One minute you're chatting with a sentient mushroom, the next you're discussing gardening with a talking moose. The contrast between the lighthearted dialogue and the brutal difficulty of the platforming somehow works and keeps me hooked. The bosses are fun to fight too. Each world ends with a showdown against Billy Bones' minions in their own unique arenas. For example, one boss is a mad hopping rock you must platform around, and another is a giant, human that slowly moves toward you while you dodge several stars traveling on a fixed path. They're challenging but fair. Every death is your mistake, not the game's. And finally, the pixel art is vibrant, the chiptune soundtrack slaps, and the difficulty curve is nearly flawless. The game introduces new mechanics and platforming problems in a way that feels logically incremental and not overwhelming. It's a love letter to retro platformers, but with modern polish and a goofy heart. I really dig this one. It feels like a well-polished package the developer created passionately. Garbanzo Quest is short, challenging, and bursting with personality. It's proof that even the smallest beans can leave a big impression. Alright, so this next one is called KeyLocker, a cyberpunk JRPG that blends Chrono Trigger's exploration with Mario & Luigi's timing-based combat, all set to a rebellious electronic and synth-laden soundtrack. You play as Bobo, a musician fighting to overthrow Saturn's authoritarian regime, where music has been outlawed for 141 years. Armed with a guitar that channels electricity and a band of misfit rebels, you'll battle cops, hack networks, and play illegal concerts to dismantle the system. Let's start with the combat because it's the star here. Battles are turn-based but demand real-time precision. Most attacks, parries, or special moves require you to hit notes in rhythm, like a mini Guitar Hero session mid-fight. Nail the timing and you'll deal massive damage. Miss it and your strikes fizzle. Positioning is critical too. Each weapon or ability targets a specific spot on the grid. One attack might hit enemies directly in front of you, another blasts a cone-shaped area, and a third counters anyone dumb enough to strike you. You can't equip 4 weapons at once, swapping between 2 loadouts mid-battle. An example setup could be a guitar that steals enemy electricity points, a heavy sword for raw damage, a violin for recovering electricity points directly, and an uchi-katana with a parry that counters on perfect blocks. The class system adds even more depth and flexibility. I chose the Samurai class, focusing on counterattacks and armor stacking, but you could spec into hacking, support, or direct DPS. Each class has its own skill tree, and your party members can mix roles too. There are even multiple points in the game that allow you to respec if you find your current build isn't working. The game doesn't really explain buffs or stats too well, so expect some trial and error. There are a lot of technical terms and concepts, especially since none of the names for things contain the typical JRPG vocabulary, but finally figuring out a powerful synergy for your build is pure satisfaction satisfaction. I started having a better time once I understood that my samurai needed to stack critical chance, armor point generation, and counterattack damage. Outside combat, you'll explore Saturn's dystopian sprawl. Every object, trash cans, signs, NPCs is interactable, offering lore snippets or hidden items. The pixel art oozes cyberpunk grit, and you can even tweak the UI's color palette to match your vibe. One minute you're sneaking through neon-lit slums, the next you're playing a rhythm minigame at a concert to hype up the crowds. The story has highs and lows. Saturn's dystopian premise is strong, music as a rebellion against oppression, but the dialogue kinda wobbles. Bobos and other characters' banter often flip between serious revolutionary talk and awkward, childish jokes or quips. It's like the game can't decide if it wants to be Blade Runner or a Saturday morning cartoon. That said, the world building still shines in quieter moments. And the soundtrack, well, Electrobear of Momodora fame delivers bangers that shift dynamically outside and during battles. The concert tracks are hype, and the ambient soundscape while exploring Saturn's districts can be pretty immersive. Also, for a game whose core premise literally revolves around music, I'd be extremely disappointed if the soundtrack wasn't good at all, but that's not the case here, and I wouldn't even recommend it otherwise. Although minor, there are some rough edges. The opening hours drown you in jargon with little context, and the tonal whiplash and dialogue can be jarring a little, but stick with it. The combat's depth and Saturn's grungy charm make up for the flaws. KeyLocker is a passion project with rhythm in its DNA. It's unpolished, ambitious, and loud, just like the revolution it's soundtracking. Wrapping up the list is Void Souls, a minimalist top-down Souls-like that strips the genre down to its sharpest edges. You play as a triangle warrior navigating a world where shadows cling to geometric ruins, every corridor hides secrets, and death is less a failure and more a chance to reassess your angles. Let's start with what makes Void Souls stand out: granular difficulty sliders. While most Souls-likes fixate on unrelenting challenges, this game lets you tweak damage dealt, damage taken, stamina drain, and even toggle off losing currency on death. You can crank up your defense if you want a relaxed exploration run, or if you prefer a brutal grind, you can slide that damage taken bar to the right. It's a rare nod to player agency in a genre that often confuses hard with well-designed. The combat is deliberate and tactile. Primary weapons range from quick daggers and longer reach scythes to slow, screen-shaking great hammers, each with distinct movesets, knockback amount, and stagger potential. Land enough hits and enemies stun briefly, letting you unleash a flurry of attacks. Pair your weapon with secondary tools like ice spells, bows, or a parrying shield, then layer on relics and artifacts for build-defining synergies. For example, the Ruby Phial refills health potions after every 4 kills, while the Jasper Chalice lets you regain lost health by counterattacking quickly, a nod to Bloodborne's rally system. Artifacts tweak stats with risk-reward trade-offs, like boosting strength at the cost of stamina. Toss in consumables like stamina-boosting seaweed, enemy-immobilizing bear traps, or healing hallucinogenic mushrooms, and you have a sandbox that offers a lot of flexibility. The world is a labyrinth of interconnected zones dripping with eerie, abstract atmosphere. You'll creep through foggy forests, humming with insects, navigate claustrophobic prisons, and wade through a poison swamp because no Souls-like is complete without one, of course. Off-path corners hide soul shards, of which 6 grant a stat boost, hidden weapons, or keys to locked areas. I really appreciated the level of detail in each new environment, and they all had their own distinct personality and characteristics. The geometric shapes, visual effects, and weird atmosphere really came together to create a unique experience. On top of that, I feel like the top-down perspective is the only way all of these visual elements could really work together. This game's visual identity is really something that's going to stick with me for a while. The storytelling is pretty sparse, even more so than you would expect from the genre. No item descriptions or lore dumps, just environmental whispers. I kinda started to get a loose idea of it by the end of the game, but even still, there were so many questions I had that were left unanswered. Questions like, why are these geometric beings at war? And what's the deal with this cosmic weirdness creeping in near the end? Your guess is as good as mine, but piecing it together feels like solving a puzzle made of shadows. The bosses are mostly great, with some sick designs and movesets. The first major fight against a prison warden hurling spinning butcher knives forces you to master spacing and timing. Later bosses ramp up the complexity with traps, AoE attacks, and multi-phase health bars. They're challenging but learnable, to an extent. One mid-game boss took way more attempts than the final boss, which felt mathematically questionable. Sound design is a quiet standout. Each zone's ambiance pulls you deeper into the mood. Dripping water in caves, metallic groans in factories, the squelch of that godforsaken swamp. It's ASMR for people who like the relaxation served with existential dread. Now, there are some minor things to consider going into this game. Void Souls doesn't care if you're lost. While there is a map system, it doesn't display locks, so once you pick up a key, you kinda just have to memorize which locks are where and use the key's names as a clue. Similarly, fast travel checkpoints are scattered kind of inconveniently instead of being in a centralized location. Backtracking to find the right door for a key can feel tedious, even if the reward is usually worth it. Some enemies in the same zone swing wildly in threat level. One dies in 2 hits while its neighbor 2-shots you. But these are edges, not deal breakers. The kind you forgive because the mood and exploration loop are just that good. Void Souls is a diamond in the rough. Its jagged edges might snag you occasionally, but the core is a gem. For every frustrating detour, there's a eureka moment when a build clicks or a secret clicks into place. By the end, I was still triangulating my feelings about its cryptic story, but in a mostly good way. It's a game that trusts you to carve your path, even if that path is a triangle stumbling through a geometric fever dream. And that's the list, y'all. 5 underrated indie gems that deserve way more love than their Steam review counts suggest. Whether you're into fish with sniper rifles, beans with attitude, or triangles having existential crises, there's something here for every flavor of weird. But hey, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The indie scene's packed with hidden treasures, and I know you've got favorites I haven't dug up yet. Drop your recommendations in the comments. Who knows, your pick might star in a part 2 video. But wait, what if I don't want to share my secret gems, you might say? And to that, I'll say, stop being selfish, what's wrong with you? If you enjoyed this deep dive, consider subscribing or liking the video. It helps these games and this channel reach more people who crave something off the beaten path. And hey, if you try any of these, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.